who had completed her UG in English Literature from SDNB Vaishnav College, Krompet. Following this, she did her professional degree course in Library and Information Science from Madras University. Her love for language and literature kept lingering in her and drove her towards her higher studies in English literature. She has been an active person in the research field and has contributed a lot to the development of research, mainly through her language skills. She also serves as editor and content writer. She was previously the head of documentation and recruitment center at ARI, the Advanced Research Institute, which is a premier wing at the Dr.M.G.R Educational and Research Institute. Recently, one of her research scholars, Mrs. Dharani Aravind, went on to win the Best Research Scholar Award at an international conference held in Coimbatore. She has presented and published nearly 45 papers at the national and international level, and she has also edited and proofread more than 150 multidisciplinary theses, synopsis, and research papers. She has also assisted in many patents and national and international level projects. She holds the position of Managing Editor of Englishers International based in Turkey. She is also an avid reader and a Mehendi artist. Her 2 books on Mehendi designs were published by Book Palace Publications, New Delhi, and she has also participated in many Mehendi competitions, winning prizes each time. She has been a judge too for various art and craft competitions held in the city to evince a keen interest in art. Today, we have ma'am expressing her views on feminism and cultural concepts of the 21st century. Welcome, ma'am. We are really happy to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. A warm and pleasant good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to be here as resource person for the one-day international conference on language, literature, and linguistics, organized by Saraswati Narayanan College, Madurai, in collaboration with Alpha Resources Academy, Chennai. At the outset, let me express my heartfelt thanks to the management of SNC College for providing me with a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this conference. I'm also thankful to the organizers of the college and the academy, especially Dr. M.R. Chandran, HOD, Department of English, and Dr. Vijay Kumar of Crescent University, and appreciate them for their hard work in bringing such a wonderful event as this to light. The presentations by my fellow speakers, Dr. Roy and Dr. Martha, were indeed outstanding, and their topics are, of course, highly relevant for the present digital era. I am thus sure this conference, with wonderful ideas from paper presenters too, will benefit all research scholars and help them with the need of the art topics that would be quite useful for them in their research pursuits. I convey my best wishes to the paper presenters and wish you all a great future ahead. The topic that I'm going to present before you all is feminism and cultural concepts in the 21st century. So through my presentation, I'm going to give you all clear insights on how feminism arose and the various ways that came along with it, and what is the current nature of feminism since we are living in the. I should admit that not much has changed and to struggle. Alongside, I'm also going to concepts and 21st century has changed culture in so many ways, starting from family relationships to the impact it has on environment. So I believe that through my presentation, I can make you all aware of the changes that are taking place, and I also hope through my presentation, future researchers can have some key takeaways that would aid them in their future research. Now give me a second to share my screen. Ma'am, is the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you very much. So this is the topic which I'm going to present today, feminism and cultural concepts in the 21st century. Okay, so let's go to the first slide. So let me begin with a quote on feminism, where an author unknown has said, women have been taught that for us the earth is flat and that if we venture out, we'll fall off the edge. The emotional, sexual and psychological stereotyping of females begins when the doctor says it is a girl. So this kind of quotes really impacted me a lot. So let's go further. So defining feminism. So what is feminism actually? So feminism is the dogma supporting social, political and all other rights to women as equal to men. It is an organized movement for the attainment of rights for women, irrespective of caste, creed, color. Okay? The fight against a male-centered and male-run world that we are seeing. Now, feminism in general parlance, so this is going to be a comprehensive presentation, and so even if
Excuse me, ma'am.
participants are unable to understand my voice, hear my voice, you can, with the help of my slides, you can understand purely what I am talking about. Okay?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you can just click on hide, ma'am. You don't just click on hide in that pop-up message, ma'am.
Okay.
The one that you're, yes, ma'am. So it will not be a disturbance for you on the slide. You can just click on hide.
So you want me to just...
No, ma'am.
There
is a pop-up message which is coming on your slide now, ma'am.
Okay.
If you click on hide, it will not disturb you in between, ma'am.
Pop-up message is coming up. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me check.
No, it's on your system, ma'am, right away. You had just dragged it, no, ma'am.
Okay. So now
sure,
it's okay, no? Right.
Okay, ma'am.
Maybe it will come and then vanish in a second. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. So feminism in general parlance, the word feminism comes from French word feminism, and according to the Cambridge Online Dictionary, feminism is the conviction that women should be allowed the same rights, power and opportunities as men and be treated in the same way, or the set of activities intended to achieve this change. So the term feminism itself is used to describe a cultural, political or economic movement aiming for equal rights for both women and men. Nonetheless, the terms feminism and feminist did not gain widespread meaning until the 1970s, when they started to be used in the public parlance more frequently. So now if you see, it has come to the level of online feminism, which I'll be showing you all in the next slides. Okay. So first, gender equality, gender inequality and values. Most horrifying of all is gender inequality and how values are imparted to human beings. Okay, so values are shaped by thoughts of human communities in certain place and period of time. Literary work can be used as a tool for studying social phenomena, social values, and even the thoughts of humans at certain period of time or era. So one of the most arguable and observable social phenomena is gender inequality, which is based on feminism thought. The idea that we need to suppress women. This is the main agenda in gender inequality, and it has been for thousands of ages. Gender inequality has been a part of culture for hundreds of years, as most of the time it produces oppression towards women. Women are the worst sufferers when it comes to gender inequality. It is a social phenomenon which consisted of the idea that men are superior and women are inferior. Even if when we are living in the 21st century, this kind of thought has not changed. Maybe in a few places we can witness a change, but if we go to villages and some backward communities, this kind of problem still exists. Okay, so this idea is a part of the hegemonic construct, which is often called gender paradigm. Several communities in the world even intentionally create inequality for men and women. So communities, by way of forming communities, they create this kind of inequality. Through these intentional or accidental force, gender inequality is gradually acknowledged as one of the important social phenomena, even though there are many voices raised against oppressions against women, not much has changed even when we are living in the 21st century. This is the sad truth. So what has Hollander to say on gender inequality? See, Hollander states that gender is a social construction. It is not something related to biological differences or biological discrimination. It doesn't emerge as it is. It is formed by people. It's a social construction. Most scholars agree that gender is socially constructed. Gender is a social institution and thus it is something that members of the society create, maintain and impose. So what the male dominant groups say, only that is being enforced till now. In other words, people have agreed that there is a rule that dictates how people see others. So by stating others, Hollander refers to the subdominant group, okay, that never open their voice or they never dictate what the majority of the population should do and should be like. So when gender inequality, as Hollander states, is recognized by the subdominant group, then the feminism thoughts come to light. So when this kind of subdominant groups focus on feminism and talk about all these aspects, this kind of feminism thoughts come to light. Okay. Now, uh, let's go for feminist progression, socialization, and gender stereotypes. So, feminism, women oppression, and gender inequality are multidimensional social phenomena which sprawl through personal, familial, social, and cultural values. So this is not just in one place, it's almost everywhere. It's like something sprawling in almost all aspects of personal, familial, social and cultural values, and everywhere women are oppressed. Feminism thoughts have been getting stronger along with the progression of century. In many places, this is slowly changing. Feminism thoughts always oppose gender inequality as both are binary oppositions in literary work. So both feminism and gender inequality live through values. Personal and familial values are important in order to develop feminism thoughts and gender inequality. Okay? So the change of values, especially social and cultural values, can bring changes in both feminism and gender inequality phenomena. So by constant, by changing values, especially the social and cultural values that are prevalent in the society, we can expect to bring a change in both feminism and gender inequality issues. Okay, socialization is a huge factor in the establishment of gender role identity or the scope to which people feel that they show characteristics that relate with gender, traditional gender stereotypes. So this is what happens here. So what you will be surprised if I say that there were insecurities faced by earlier women authors, that to famous women authors, and how literature is used as a medium to portray their feelings. Okay, So writing about feminism and women attitudes was slightly different for female and male writers during the 19th and 20th century. So several female authors, Charlotte Bronte was among them, were even writing under a pseudonym because they felt demoralized to write under their real name. That time, male domination was the peak. So women authors were feeling insecure to come out and write in their own names, and so they had to use a pseudonym. Okay, so you can understand how male domination was in that period. To write under the real name, and as for Dawn, she was using the pen name Torabel, a male name. Okay. Women at the beginning of the 19th century were rather insecure to write explicitly about their problems in society, thus they used male pseudonyms because men's opinions were much more respected, and they also wanted to avoid the influence of prejudice in the society against female writers. Okay, so it was like men's opinions, thoughts were highly respected, and so these women authors felt that if they write under the male pseudonym, they will be, it will have a much wider reach. Okay, so feminism at that time was not outright spoken and passed rather through literature. So literature was the only medium where the problems of females were brought to light. So literature was the primary medium to communicate ideas and thoughts about this topic, and it was also one of the means of communication because literature could spread around the world when people traveled. So it was only through literature that this kind of problems are brought into light, and even now if you take some books, some well-known books of literature and read, you will find how many problems women faced earlier. Okay. So the first feminist wave. So we are going I'm going to share some about some three waves that arose in the period. Okay. So the first feminist wave was votes for women. The first wave that arose in the context of industrial society refers mainly to the women's suffrage movement in the 19th and early 20th century in the United Kingdom and in the United States, focusing on women gaining the right to vote. So it is concerned with access and equal opportunities for women. The first wave continued to influence feminism in both Western, not only in Western but also Eastern societies throughout the 20th century. So originally, the first wave focused on the promotion of equality and property rights for women, where women were used as properties. Okay, just cattle is a word which originated from cattle. Okay, where it will be taken as a property once they pay money. Okay, so and this and the opposition of to chattel marriage and ownership of married women and their children by their husbands. So the first wave focused on this kind of issues. These kind of issues were at the peak that period. Okay. So the second feminist wave, the personal is political, where even the personal problems came to light. The second wave of feminism emerged after the World War II and can be described as the women's liberation movement, which focused on gaining equal and social equality for women, and most importantly, on ending discrimination. Okay, so this period was also understood as a continuation of the first wave feminism. In fact, the term first wave was coined only after the second wave emerged. Only after the second wave, the term first wave was coined, and then it came to be known as the first wave and the second wave. Okay, so since the second wave had slightly different goals, it needed a new term. The second wave feminist women's cultural and political inequalities as inextricably linked and encouraged women to understand aspects of their personal life as deeply politicized and as reflecting sexist power structures. Okay, so now coming to the third wave, transversal politics, like going into so many lines of feminism thoughts. The third wave feminism, or sometimes also called the post-feminism or girl rhetoric, began in the 1990s and continues up to present. Okay, so post-feminism refers to the perceived failures of the second wave. Whatever couldn't happen in the second wave, it continued in the third wave, and it continues in fighting for the same beliefs as in the previous wave. So not much has changed since the emergence of first wave and second wave, and so it has to continue in the third wave too. Okay. So, however, the movement's focus has slightly shifted. It has less focused on political processes and on laws, but on more on individual self. Women started bringing their problems to light mostly through social media. Okay. Then also the feminists were more diverse now. The first and second wave feminists were mostly Western, middle class, white women, whereas the third wave feminists are women from different ethnicities, colors, religions, and social backgrounds. Third wave is very, very important because the women of all places, colors, religions were able to focus on their problems mainly through cyber feminism. Okay. This wave challenges the notion of universal womanhood and embraces ambiguity, diversity, and multiplicity in transversal theory and politics. Okay. So this is how it was. And then earlier I was talking about girl feminism. So girl feminism is called by many names such as lipstick feminism, girly feminism, riot girl feminism, cyber girl feminism, and trans feminism. So born with the privileges that first and second wave feminists sought for, this kind of third wave feminists had more access to privileges than the first and second wave feminists. Okay, and they were able to see themselves as capable, strong, and assertive social agents. So the third wave is maintained by the confidence of having more opportunities and less sexism. So looking at women as sex objects and diminishing that and giving more opportunities for them is what happened in the third wave. Okay, women were able to focus on more opportunities rather than being seen as sex. So Judith Butler is a person behind the performativity theory, and she signaled the paradigmatic shift in her book Gender Trouble and Bodies That Matter. Okay. She was the person who propelled new evolving movements such as queer and transgender politics, which take an interest in the intersection of gender and sexuality and help articulate performance third wave feminism. And she was the main person behind the movement of the third wave feminism as a theoretical framework of the politics of transgression. And along with her was Donna Haraway, and her thinking was quite different from what Butler had stated. So another significant perspective that had contributed to third wave feminism is Donna Haraway's cyborg, which has also inspired the development of cyber feminism. She was the person behind influencing cyber feminism. So what makes this perspective unique is Haraway's appropriation of technology and her post-truth acknowledgement of the interaction between humans and non-humans, which blurs the distinction between humans, animals, and machines. All have different kinds of behaviors. Okay. So moreover, like Butler, Haraway does not operate with the essential division between society and subject, structure and agency, materiality and sociality, or flesh and soul. Okay, so in keeping the post-structuralist thought, she has underscored the uncertainty of such categorization and the continuous flow between apparently natural category, location, and position. So this kind of her kind of feminist thought started giving attention. Okay, so the potential for feminism and Haraway's thinking is really great and is still being explored by a range of feminist thinkers. So that's how Donna Haraway's thought became quite popular. So this is feminist position from the first wave to the third wave, from equity to transversity. So equity, liberal first wave feminism, and then socialist and Marxist first wave feminism, and then it moved on to radical second wave feminism, and then there were some difference, and then difference and identity in second wave feminism, and then particularism, and then it didn't form a circle. It just went round and then came on to performance third wave feminism and trans feminism and transversity. So this is how it has happened. Now, I have brought here the fourth feminist wave, that is the social media activism. Actually, the third wave has not ended it, and fourth wave has not emerged, but with the coming of Me Too movement, okay, there are thoughts that the third wave still persists, as there seem to be no transparent shift in the movement and other developments. So, not much development took place. But with the Me Too movement and the resurgence of attacks on women's rights, it is made to believe that it is a new wave. So people started believing that with the emergence of Me Too movement, the fourth wave has started. Okay, but still people think that third wave has not completed and it's still there. Okay, so social media activism has propelled the movement firmly into the technological age. It builds on third wave emphasis on inclusivity and asks hard questions about how what empowerment, equality, and freedom really means. So the women are able to raise more questions on what actually means by empowerment, equality, and freedom, and what people are trying to prove through this. Okay, so fourth wave feminism continues to reckon with intersectionality. So critics of white feminism, which ignores the unique struggles of women of color, expose how non-feminine white feminist and ideas have been and continue to be suppressed. Okay, trans rights, transgender rights are also a big part of the conversation too, and we could see a gradual shift in the way people look at transgenders. Okay, now there are more opportunities. Then many fourth wave feminists are working to combat this exclusion. As with every wave before it and after any wave that comes after it, the fourth wave is quite complex. Okay, it encompasses many movements that both complement and clash with each other, making it unavoidable. So having a variety of voices makes feminism more inclusive and successful. Earlier only limited women and only people of a particular caste could voice their issues out. But now with the evolution of Me Too movement and cyber feminism, more women started coming out, even from rural backgrounds, from the low-level societies. They started coming out with their issues, and thus it has started gaining more popularity. Okay. So, importance of feminism in the 21st century. So, feminism is important in the 21st century because even people don't describe themselves, even those who are not interested in this feminist movement will encounter the challenges that feminism is trying to solve. So, feminism brings these types of discrimination to light and provides solutions. Better working can be done to solve the emerging issues than struggling alone. So it should be a kind of teamwork rather than women struggling alone with their problems. If they work as a team, there can be easy solutions for it. Okay. So in facing social, political, and economic challenges, women have an important contribution to make through feminism. So, feminism is not merely a concern for women issues, but also a way of understanding power and criticizing the domination, subordination dynamic that is central to so much of modern life. So, the roots of that dynamic are in fact here to the system of male domination that arose only a few thousands of years. It arose only a few thousands of years, but has been so destructive to people and the earth. Patriarchy is incompatible with justice and sustainability. So the challenge for feminism is to articulate an alternative to the illegitimate heuristics that structure our life. Men over women, white over non-white, rich over poor, first world over third. So these are the things that that feminism has tried to change in the 21st century. So now women and three Gs. So the women's movement in the 21st century has been able to draw a number of women around three major issues. The three major problems it can be referred to as the three G's: the attitude towards girl child, gender violence, and globalization. Okay? So girl child, it's quite common in family culture to idolize sons and dread the birth of a daughter. For a girl, discrimination begins even before birth. So now the practice has changed in hospitals. There are big boards saying that this kind of practice is not allowed during the sex of the fetus. It's not allowed. Then abortion of female fetuses is still on the rise. Maybe in village sites is still on the rise. The ratio of female to male is declining. There is reluctance to seek medical aid for ailing daughters. Girls are breastfed for a shorter duration than boys, and girls are easily withdrawn from school to look after their younger siblings. These problems still occur. If you go to the other part of the city and go for some rural places, you will see this kind of practices still prevalent. Okay? So regardless of the economic background, the status of the female child has never been the same as that of the male at any level. Gender roles are conceived, taught, and enacted in a complex set of relationships within the family and society at large. So needless to say, media reinforces the same stereotype gender role in way of serials. Okay, people who watch serials believe that this is how we have to behave. Okay, the media is a very important part which is behind this. The girl child grows up with a low self-esteem. She grows up with a notion of temporary membership in her natal home to be disposed of with assets and dowry. So this is how a girl child is brought up. Okay, this this situation has to change. Now, coming to gender violence, one of the major challenges in today's world is the problem of gender violence. So, gender violence mostly occurs because we are living in a male-dominant society. Gender-based violence is a universal reality regardless of income, class, and culture. So the many forms of violence against women and children are to be understood as gender violence. So only when we look at violence not as a private issue but a development and human rights issue that we will be able to see the question as a whole. Okay? So violence has an economic, social and political cost to society and it is no more a private affair. Women are the worst hit in caste wars and communal clashes, and added to this is sexual violence. So in many societies, women do not have property rights. Okay, only goes to male children. The whole socialization process, how a girl child is brought up, teaches inequality. Okay, so how the family bring up their girl child is what matters here. Both upper class dominance and capitalism is leading to more and more violence against women. It is well known that as bonds of tradition weaken with modernization, gender violence within families tends to increase. So we are able to see explicitly through the Vishmaya case in Kerala or in many cases if we see in social media, it's all happening still. Okay, Kerala is known for its high literacy rate, but still dowry harassment, gender violence is still prevalent. Okay. So what is reason, however, is the courage of women to face up to domestic violence. So women have to face up this kind of domestic violence. They must be uh, independent enough to stand on their own feet and be able to live a life on their own, and they should not be allowing this kind of violence anymore. Okay? Not just women in organized groups, but also female victims who are well aware of the adverse consequences that going public will have on their life. So women know everything in this present world. Okay, so they know what kind of problems they will be facing, but still they're not going to stop. They are going to highlight their problems. Only then some solution can be uh, fulfilled. Then, with the backdrop of the patriarchal social structure, the tradition of family piety, and the asymmetrical gender expectations in rural regions, This defined movement to expose domestic violence and created the space for world debate on this issue. So people are discussing, but still there is no proper solution for this. Okay. So then globalization. The globalization has also decreased the control of women over resources. It has led to displacement, and when both women and men land up in urban slums, it affects women more because there are lack of sanitation and increase of violence. In this process, the knowledge of traditional medicines, herbs and plants have been destroyed. It's true. Here, customs, culture and religion are intertwined society, and this change is very slow on the social front. The problems that women face within their families in these regions are uniform regardless of their religion, caste, or community, and yet women continue to be governed by a multiplicity of family laws which are determined to women due to political consequences. So even though they want to open up, they are often silenced is what is happening. So how culture influences feminism. So humans are located within culture primarily by virtue of being conceived as gender. When a child is first born, the first question often asked is it a boy or a girl? Okay. So while this question may appear harmless at first, it actually has an important implication for the future of that particular child. So if the child is female, she will be clothed in pink and socialized to be feminine. If the child is male, she will be clothed in blue and socialized to be masculine. So thus from the first moment when the child self is identified, he or she is clothed in an identifying color, blue or pink, and enters into a lifelong training process of socialization, kind of community values, in the norms imposed by community people. All this have an impact, okay? And our society's particular behavioral expressions with regard to gender. So from our first experience in the world, where our sex is determined by our genitalia, we are assigned to one of two binary biological categories, male or female, and located in culture as gendered participants and consumers. So along with this assignment to a specific category comes a vast array of gendered expectations for our appearance and behavior. So this is how we have to appear, this is how we have to behave. They're all formed by this kind of human environment. Okay, so even if we attempt to break traditional cultural stereotypes about gender by displaying characteristics traditionally identified as either masculine or feminine, we are with few expectations exceptions constantly reminded by the media that males are supposed to be masculine and that females are supposed to be feminine. So unless and until the media changes, we can't do anything. Then society and its rules for feminine and masculine behavior. So the society has fairly rigid rules when it comes to delineating between proper standards for feminine and masculine behavior. So to conform to conventional standards of femininity, a female should be passive, nurturing and compliant. To conform to conventional standards of masculinity, a male should be active, aggressive and domineering. So this is how they are stereotyped, and this kind of gender based, okay, based of course right from the start. Okay. So while traditional standards of masculinity and femininity have altered over the years, frequently females or males who stray from these conventional patterns often are labeled as somehow deviant and abnormal. So if they break the norm, they are labeled as deviant and abnormal. So for example, females who exhibit aggressive behaviors are frequently labeled as butchers. Males who display passive and nurturing tendencies are labeled as sissies or wimps. So this is happening in the society. Okay. So in addition, most females are socialized to be most concerned with their appearance, while most males are socialized to be most concerned about their actions. So this occurs because females are largely defined by and valued by for their appearance, while males are largely defined by their ability to successfully take action in their environment. So men have to rule and women have to listen. This is how it's happening here. So what has the internet, what the internet has to do on feminism is what it's about. On the internet, the opinion of anonymity enables women to construct their identity on their own terms. They can discuss issues that are otherwise considered too sensitive for the public domain. So with the advent of internet, lots of women have started raising their problem, and for women of color, the online political organizing of African American women globally reflects how cyber feminism can transcend nations, states, and economic classes. Okay. So, for instance, solidarity is for white women, which is a famous phrase in Twitter, was initiated by digital feminists to counter the discrimination present in online feminist debates, which highlight issues related only to middle-class white women. So this hashtag went viral and gave women of color an opportunity to reclaim their narratives online. For many, the internet is a safe space to vent against the repressive gender agenda in the offline world. The rise in global awareness and opposition to the repressive Taliban regime by the Revolutionary Association of Women of Afghanistan is another example of the successful use of internet by a global feminist organization. So this is how that's happened, internet and feminism. So this is another popular one, hashtag feminism. Hashtag feminism is one of the most popular conduits of both Twitter and Facebook. Its presence has been felt globally and it has truly refined the ways we view active components of feminism in our present society. So it is without question that we are facing the new wave of feminism. As I told you, it's about the fourth wave. We are hashtagging. Okay. So however, as this online community is formed, questions of safe spaces, identity, and the redefining of feminism accommodate the mass popularity of feminist hashtagging. Just in writing this introduction alone, the following hashtags are gaining momentum with each minute of the hour. Bring back our girls, yes all women, and solidarity is for white women. These hashtags in Twitter have started gaining popularity and has become a worldly debate. Okay, each of these hashtags have now been defined as Twitter feminism. Then, theoretically, the concept of hashtag feminism has created a virtual space where victims of inequality can coexist together in space that acknowledges their pain, narrative, and aspiration, so they can share anything. Okay. However, in identifying online communities such as Twitter and Facebook as safe spaces for expressing feminism views and politics, ramifications present dire consequences which lead to online harassment, hate speech, disagreements. Even here, women face problems like online harassment, hate speech, disagreement, and miscommunication and rhetoric. It is with these consequences that the academic discourse becomes lost in transmitting the message of what feminism is and how feminists are being identified. Okay. So what are the cultural barriers in online feminism? Post-colonial feminists like Mohanty claim that Western feminists tend to rely only on their value system and view themselves as saviors for other women. So online feminism typically addresses the issues of upper and middle class women. It conversely defeats the very purpose of the movement by silencing the marginalized. The marginalized women don't have a voice. Okay, they don't know what is happening. So the movement must therefore mold itself while considering the historical and cultural context. So women, all kinds of women should participate in this. Okay. For instance, feminism may hold uh, a different meaning for rural women who struggle to access necessities like food, healthcare, and education. For some women, getting access to food, healthcare, and education itself is a big problem. And this kind of issues like equal pay, sexual harassment, and reclaiming public spaces will mean very little to them. They are not concerned about this. They need food, healthcare, and basic education. Okay. So further language barriers not only make grassroots level research difficult, but also challenge the assimilation of marginalized voices because people speak many languages, and bringing only one language into focus is not going to help in any way. Okay, so but also challenge the assimilation of marginalized voices into the larger global movement. As most mainstream online feminist movements are anti-society, the lack of content in local languages limits women's participation at the grassroots, because women are not able to voice this because of their language. This goes hidden. Okay, so the digital age is characterized by fault lines that restrict women at grassroots level from accessing the same privileges as other women. So online misogyny, as I told you, it's about hate speeches and everything. Online misogyny is a modern phenomenon and resonates with purposeful attempts to limit women's public presence and stifle their voices, lower their voices, viewing them as inferior. Even when we are facing this kind of cyber feminism, Twitter feminism, and all this kind of male dominance still exists. Patriarchal systems also warn that women who overstep their mark will be punished. So cyberfeminism is in many ways a direct response to the toxic offline and online space, and perhaps a way through which the cycle can be broken. So speaking publicly about these issues offers women the benefits of catharsis as well as a sense of solidarity. So cyberfeminism still follows the pattern of third wave feminism, wherein individual action and emancipation are highlighted. So highly individualized form of feminism encourage intersectional differences and varied voices to emerge. Yet it can make the potential of a wider and more uniform, united transformation difficult to achieve. So what is the solution for this? There should be a better and fuller understanding of the problems peculiar to women to make a solution of those problems possible. As these problems center around the basic problem of inequality, there should be steps that should be taken to promote equality of treatment and full integration of women in the total development effort. Women should be given more and more opportunities. Okay, irrespective of their race, color, creed, they should be given more opportunities, and more women should come to the front. And education is the only way where we can bring all this. Women should be educated. Parents should not think about getting them married at a very early age. They should be educated and they should find a job for themselves before they step into the marriage life. Okay, the main stress should be on equal work and elimination of discrimination in employment. This kind of pink collar jobs should be eliminated, and then one of the basic policy objectives should be universal education of women, the lack of which tends to perpetuate the unequal status quo. So the popular UNESCO slogan should come in handy at this moment: educate a man and we educate an individual, educate a woman and we educate a family. So with this feminism topic comes to an end, and now we'll go for 21st century culture. I think it's almost time, but still I'll try to go a bit faster. Okay, so 21st century culture is a large presence in any society. It influences our ethics and moral, the way we interact with others, and even the way we think. The power that culture has on our behavior is undeniable. So many cultures have historical origins and are based on old traditions. Okay, they also usually have a geographical boundary. However, culture is changing. There is a new culture developing and spreading across the world, and it happens mostly because of this kind of online movement. Okay, the technology of the modern world means that the world's population is connected in many ways that it has never been before. More can be shared and had in common. The internet clearly has a large impact on culture as people share their thoughts and experiences. Okay. So if you see if there is some person from US has bought an issue, even we from here are able to comment on it. So this kind of thing is slowly everything is changing. We are able to communicate at the global level. Okay, so cultural impact of the 21st century. So 21st century is a disruptive time. The claim can be evidenced by numerous discussions present in academic domain as well as in media and concerning wide range of issues such as climate change, corporate restructuring, political and social upheaval, and major health care, including the coronavirus pandemic. So cultural factors add complexity to this already messy context, which in turn considerably impact the performance of every organization. So what is going to be the future trends of culture? If one needs to know what trends may shape the culture and identity in future, one way to start is to trace global patterns in people's use of language and media, as well as their relative degrees of connection to one another through information and communication technologies. Okay, then language. So language is a medium through which human beings establish and maintain relationships. It is the foundation of mutual intelligibility and shared symbolic system. As such, trends in language use provide some data about the raw materials that future generations will be using to interpret and make sense of the world. So such trends suggest that while will continue to be an important vehicle of international communication, the comparative influence of English language in the future may be less than it is today. The 20th century was a dominating language, but now it is not like that. English will probably continue to be a widely spoken language in future, but it no longer enjoy the same dominance it enjoyed in the earlier century. Okay, so at the beginning of the new millennium, about 20 to 25 of the world's population spoke English as the first or second language. However, as non-speak English-speaking countries begin to comprise a larger percentage of world's gross national product (GNP), these trends are most likely to change. So some researchers speculate that in the future more people will speak more languages and that Mandarin Chinese will become the next must-learn language, particularly in Asia. So 21st century process of social restructuration. They say father is the head of the family and it is good to have the whole family for dinner. That was the thing of the past. Now our lives are ruled by gadgets and people work in flexible hours and the cultural togetherness has become more of a matter of social reunion. So earlier joint families played a very vital role in our society. The older and younger generations interacted with each other and perceived, understood and imbibed their cultural values. But this setup changed, replaced by a nuclear family setup, cultural values transferred to the backseat. Time for daily chores, the need for one's independence, variables being more and more important, leading to severe social restructuration. So information and communication technologies, how it has had an impact on our culture. It is possible that the values and behaviors that the internet is fostering today will similarly fundamentally alter the way societies around the world interact and behave tomorrow. Okay, so it's going to be a drastic change. In light of that potential, it is notable that over the course of the next decade, the largest pool of immigrants to this new digital community will likely import their own languages, values, and norms, changing the texture and complexity of the information society we all inhabit in the process. So we all also have to adapt to everything, and we have to change the way we look at the world. Okay, the culture, tradition, everything is going to have a drastic shift. Access to the internet around the world continues to expand. In 2009, worldwide, for fixed and mobile broadband subscriptions worldwide passed the 1 billion mark. So you can see how many people are in worldwide now. About 1.7 billion people, or 26% of the world's population, who regularly using the internet. Internet penetration rates are still much higher in developed countries than in the developing world, where between 58 to 77% of the population are online. Okay, so infrastructure and transportation networks, improvements in transportation have increased the connection to foreign cultures and societies in the physical domain as well as in the virtual one. Nevertheless, the contrast between growth in virtual connectivity and growth in transportation capabilities is in places quite stark. So whether through the use of automobiles, buses, railways or aircraft, people around the world have increased their travel demand from an average of 1,400 kilometers to 5,500 kilometers over the past 5 decades. Okay, so the biggest increase occurred in the developing world, where the combined growth in per capita GDP and population was the largest. So this is how it has happened. Then migration and urbanization, still a common problem. The migration and urbanization are worldwide phenomena and migration from developing countries to developed countries in search of better infrastructure, better pay, as well as from rural areas to urban cities has increased dramatically over the past few decades. The effects of migration have a more negative impact in developing countries compared to developed countries. So the poorly developed infrastructure in cities in low-income countries face enormous difficulty due to socio-economic and cultural problems in finding homes for a large population. So migration to cities has increased dramatically over the past few decades. Most migrants come from rural areas, bringing values, beliefs, and expectations about mental health that are often very different from the ones they encounter in their new location. So in many instances, people coming from rural areas have endured years of isolation, lack of technological connection, poor health, poverty, unemployment, and inadequate housing. So they need to acculturate and adapt not only to the challenging urban environment, but also to alternative systems of symbols, meanings, and traditions. So this automatically changes the way they used to look at the world. Okay, they used to change the way they perceive culture and tradition. Has to definitely change because as they move to new location. Okay, then the politics of culture and identity. The culture and values of emerging centers of influence will spread beyond their borders. The degree of that influence may not be comparable to the kind of experience the United States had in the 20th century. With so many more sources of information, a segmented consumer base, and the proliferation of non-English sources of news, the market for global ideas will simply be more saturated, making it difficult for any one source of images and ideas to dominate. So it's not going to be the world of one idea, one concept. So everything is going to change frequently. Okay, fundamentally, a more globalized media marketplace of ideas will challenge the influence and appeal of the regionally based identities that dominated the 20th century. So the four C's of learning of the 20, I'll just go a little bit faster. So the four C's of learning of 21st century learning is especially in academia is critical thinking, where people have to think critically about making judgments and decisions. Then critical thinking impact the effectiveness of reasoning and the way they solve the problem. Then communication has to be much more faster than it was the previous context. To accurately transfer information from one place to another, communication requires two key elements. First, the person must articulate thoughts and ideas through verbal, non-verbal, and written methods. Second, listening is very, very important. It's needed to interpret meaning and understand knowledge, values, attributes, and intention. So communication skills also include the use of various forms of media and technologies as the ability to evaluate their impact. And then collaboration, people have to learn to collaborate with one another. Teamwork has to definitely take place, and then collaboration takes place when a group of individuals work together towards a common goal, because each person comes to a group with different knowledge base and perspectives. So learning from them will definitely bring more chances of improvement. Okay, then creativity is a valuable skill which people of this present century should definitely have. Creativity, the inception of thought and demonstration of originality, is quickly emerging as a skill critical to the future of work. Some recent studies predict that artificial intelligence and robotics will change the workplace by displacing up to 30% of workers worldwide by 2030. As one of the few skills AI cannot be programmed to express, so creativity will become increasingly important to advancing goals and progress. So we need to develop a creative base. Okay, then the barriers to 21st century culture. People around the world are sharing the same culture in a way that would not have been possible without social media. Definitely without social media, this would not have been possible. A culture has been created through our that we share and has become an extension of popular culture. So the internet has demolished geographical boundaries. However, this does not mean that a shared global culture has been created. Geographical boundaries have been removed as communication opportunities connect more people than ever before. But that does not mean that the popular culture of the internet is embraced by everyone. As I told you earlier, marginalized groups don't have access to all these. There are other limits to the spread of culture, such as language barriers and loyalty to another culture. Moreover, there are locations where internet access is limited, and so the spread of popular culture is hindered. Okay. So, culture and the natural environment are interrelated in complex ways, where the this human culture, then the plants, then animal soils, and those all impact culture in complex ways. Let's see how. So, culture and environment. The relationship between culture and environment can be seen in the depletion of energy resources and forceful adoption of new energy sources. Okay, earlier it was through use of wood that people used to cook food. Now it has been replaced by gas stove. Okay, wood has become relatively scarce at the beginning of industrial revolution in Europe, and it was replaced by coal to fuel factories and heat homes. Okay, later coal began to be replaced by oil and natural gas during the early 20th century. So the increasing costs associated with petroleum products have now caused it to begin to be replaced by nuclear, solar, and other energy sources. So this brings drastic changes to the human economy, which in turn alters the relationship with the environment. So as economies change, culture to change is the pursuit. Human beings now face potential major global cultural changes due to greenhouse effect that happens as a result of burning fossil fuels and forest products. So the result likely will be progressive global warming, shifting climates, and flooded coastal regions. So this is the impact culture, environment will have on our culture. Okay, and so what are the major tips for success in the 21st century? If we need to survive in the 21st century, we'll have to acquire a set of skills and adopt certain characteristics in order to become successful in the 21st century society. We need to have both creativity and innovation, be able to think out of the box, then we need to collaborate and communicate, and this pandemic definitely has brought a welcome change in the academia, and people are able to communicate with people of other institutions, outside institutions, worldly institutions, and bringing them from there to conduct a webinar and so on. Then critical thinking and problem solving. Then they need to become global citizens. Then they need to have good knowledge of technology, and they should definitely become a lifelong learner. Only this will pave way to success in the 21st century. With this, I end my talk. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mom. We all know education, it provides the tools for achieving our biggest dreams and also empowering us to be better people. It also contributes to the social justice, and even more importantly, it contributes to the achievement of one's full potential. And with eminent speakers like Dr. John-Shekhar, Dr. Roy, Dr. Martha, and Dr. Harshini, I take this opportunity to thank all the speakers once again for sharing your thoughts and enlightening us with your words of knowledge. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Participants, we can now break for lunch. You are requested to join your respective links at 2 p.m. sharp, which has already been shared with you in your WhatsApp group for your paper presentations. And further, you are all kindly requested to assemble back on this link, the link that you joined today morning at 9:30 at 4 o'clock sharp for your validation. Please don't miss out, because we have some important information related to various other conferences as FTP and seminars with publications in highly indexed journals. So hoping to see you all at 4 p.m. and best of luck for your paper presentation. Thank you once again and have a great day.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
My name is Aishwarya and I would like to ask a doubt.
Yes.
I would like to speak to the speaker before ma'am who spoke just now. So I have a doubt on reading books. Like, what should I read books? Like, what type of books and what books? Because I love reading so much, and I have read a lot of them. And I would like to know what are the books I can read. So that's what I want to ask.
Okay, I think that's Dr. Martha. I think 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, let me just think ma'am I don't think so. Ma'am is there. I think ma'am has just left the meet, I guess so. But ma'am will be here, so if you could join us back at 4 o'clock, I'll definitely let you know, Miss Aishwarya. Is that your name, dear?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
actually presenting afternoon.
Okay, sure. Definitely. I'll definitely ask ma'am and I'll get back to you. I would like to see you at 4 o'clock and definitely ma'am will be there to help you out. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
All the best, dear.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, participants? Ms. Prema, Mr. Vairamotu, Ms. Vrinda, Shamuga, Pavitra, Ms. Valarmati, Ms. Niveta, and Ms. Aishwarya. You can break up for your lunch. You can join back on the same link at 4 o'clock.